Now we'll welcome Futura to the stage, please. Welcome. Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you,
So
Dean.
let's start off a little bit about the design for Beats by Dre. As we saw from that Adam picture, he's created a design for the headphones. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how that became.
Yeah, I guess about a year ago, I heard about the possibility of being asked to work with Beats by Dre. And, you know, I've always respected Dre, obviously, from his musical genius. And the combination of doing something on one of his products, their products, sold in Apple stores globally, sounded, you know, very inviting, and I was kind of humbled. It's awesome.
Sure. The link in between, you're saying you worked with The Clash as well, the link between music and art today is becoming more and more popular, I think, and branding with Apple being a part of this as well. What was it like working, say, with someone like The Clash? I believe you did a live painting as a backdrop with someone as epic as The Clash. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing period. That was more than 30 years ago. That was like 1981. I mean, I worked with The Clash for a few years, but I met them in '81. And thanks to them, I mean, you know, they actually brought me to Europe for the first time.
Wow.
Brought me to the UK.
Beautiful.
Brought me to France. Was on stage with them, painting. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I'm saddened by the passing of Joe Strummer, obviously.
Yeah.
He was a really good friend of mine and very supportive. You know, The Clash were really awesome in giving me exposure when other people, you know, it was strange that they were foreigners coming to New York and sort of recognized me and gave me an opportunity when people locally at the time were not giving me an opportunity.
Right, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
pretty cool.
Way cool. Also, you're starting your street art in the late 70s, going to the 80s in New York City. Maybe you could explain to us a little bit about, you know, how that brought to your art today, where you're painting on canvas before your canvas was actually the streets.
Yeah, I mean, looking back to the beginning of my career, if you will, when I was a graffiti writer in New York and painting subways at that time, painted some whole cars and, you know, had really amazing trains were running in real time.
Yeah, right.
As much success as I've had, success I don't equate it to economic success or just creative endeavors over the timeline.
Sure.
But nothing, I think, could compare to what we had going on at that time where, you know, if you painted a train, it was rolling around the city and, you know, we were very naive to the power, I guess, that, I mean, ultimately, yes, it had power, but the significance of what it meant, I guess,
Sure.
we couldn't conceive of it.
Right.
Today, I would, you know, I wouldn't die, but, you know, I would give a finger, you know, if I could still have productions like that running that weren't paid for or,
Sure.
you know, the formula of creation at that time was very unique. It can't be simulated today, even in street art culture as it exists. And there is graffiti being painted on trains around the world today.
Sure.
But those trains don't ever really run. I mean, they're sort of removed immediately. The system discovers, oh, train number blah, blah, blah has been painted. Last night some guys got in, send it to the machine, they clean it. So the opportunity for young artists to see their work in the public space, you know, on the S-Bahn, whatever, you know, for example, it's no longer possible.
Yeah.
You know? So those days are over. It's a bit of nostalgia. But all in all, it was a great, you know, experience.
I know you spent some time in Berlin before, and I was trying to talk to you about it earlier. Do you feel like you guys paved the way in the 80s of the street art in New York to what you see in Berlin today as being a very heavy-oriented street artist city?
Well, not, you know, like not exactly, because the movement, I mean, and I came to Berlin, and first time was in 1984. I was actually on a crusade with a bunch of other artists from New York. We were doing something in Cologne, and yes, it was Cologne, and then we had some event there, and it's like 4 or 5 of us. I don't want to name anyone's names, but we came here. We painted the Berlin Wall. It was a big sort of. We could brag about that, like, oh no, we tagged the wall in Berlin,
Sure.
you know, like on that kind of a tip. So, you know, in 1983, 84, that was really cool as a kind of badge of honor or whatever. But after the unification, I came back, and there was a wall that was left there, I think, you know, for artists to paint and be creative, and, you know, you have expressions about how you feel about all this, and, you know, there were some murals that were quite political, and other stuff that was just very sort of graph-esque with lettering and shadows and whatever, but traditional graffiti. But yeah, I did a wall here also at that time near what was like previously Checkpoint Charlie location or something like that. And that was like 91. And I've been to Berlin quite a few times over a 30-year period. But I mean, today's street art movement is a re-understanding of what we initially started back in New York, but yet, you know, because I feel that movement died in the 80s, and it took international artists to sort of carry the torch of what we had created in European cities and ultimately globally. So whatever street art exists today, there are other people who probably deserve credit. The Banksys, the Shepard Fairys, you know, there are real street artists like a Blue from Italy, who's like one of my favorites. So you have to look at the time in which things are happening, and more or less, a lot of the street art we know today is of the new millennium, unless you want to go back to like, you know, Blake, Lorette, and you know, you want to look at the timeline of stencilism and repasting. So pure graffiti, I don't want to say it's fallen off, but it's less of a powerful visual force of the culture.
Right.
Today, anyone with a sticker, you know, there's so many ways for people to get attention or propaganda, whatever their messages are.
Right, sure. Also, you moved from street art into painting canvas in an abstract kind of way, and there seems to be a link between music, science, and art. Maybe you care to elaborate on this a little bit?
Well, I mean, you know, music, I feel is, you know, is kind of like a co-pilot to the creative process, no matter what that is for whoever. Obviously, if you're in music industry, that's your life. But as a exterior creative from the music circle, you know, we need music. We need some sort of, I don't know, like a beat, you know, and so that's why beats and, you know, stomping your foot and kind of human rhythm is quite important. I mean, I've been around the world, you know, I've seen cultures where dance was more prevalent, you know, so it's all those aspects, but hip hop was music, art, dance initially. If you think of kids breakdancing and backdrops being painted and DJs on and MCs on microphones. So the sort of 4 pillars or the directions of all that have been, you know, that's science right there.
Sure. And what called you into this? What was your calling to do street art? I mean, you were at the beginning, you were an innovator in street art. So what was that you saw or felt or was pulled into it? What brought you there?
The imagination, you know, which is free. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, even when you like don't have resources, you can kind of dream up shit. And so that was important from my upbringing and, you know, circumstance, which I never looked as myself of, you know, hey, I don't have this, I don't have that, because I always could make shit up and work with my hands. So becoming a graffiti writer, I guess it was more of wanting to join this movement, which I perceived to be a modern day hieroglyphics. You know, when it first hit, I was looking at the writing on the wall going like, wow, there's really some communication going on here. But most of the people can't decipher it. And I'd like to add to this language.
Sure.
And
yeah.
kind of did. So but I had no real, there's no like plan. It's sort of just organic, autopilot, hope you make good decisions.
Sure.
Emotion, not not economics, just good choices in life.
Right. Smart. Okay. Is there, working with Dre, Beats by Dre, is there a highlight that you could talk about how this all came together and working with him?
Well, truth be told, I haven't met Dre yet. I'm hoping this will occur because I'm a big fan, obviously.
Yeah, me as well.
From the very beginning. Yeah, I mean, they were very respectful in terms of recognizing who I guess sounds pretentious, who I am as an artist. I don't like those to have to be my words, and so recognizing me for my contribution to the movement, they wanted my involvement creatively. Wow, what a great opportunity. Once again, it's like, in addition, hey, these will be at Apple stores, and also offering me a possibility. If we were to do this, would you be inclined to maybe go out and speak to people,
Sure.
i.e. like
Yeah.
here? And I want to say thanks everyone, obviously, for your time today and coming. Some of you may know me, some of you may have seen the easel and like, who is this guy, whatever. But for those of you who do know me, thanks for coming, and I appreciate your support. For those who don't, I hope you would learn about me and come to find out that not only am I an artist, but I'm also a father. My 2 children are here with me. I don't know if they're in the room, but they're here. My son broke his iPhone. He's trying to get a new one. And my daughter's here somewhere as well. So, what I'm doing, it's not about me and my boys, and we're hanging out, just trying to have a good time. It's this point in my life, I'm trying to do the best I can and evolve continuously, creatively, on a humanitarian level, and recognize the things in my life that are very important.
Very positive. Very positive. Cool.
Sorry about that.
And also, you're being quite modest. I know you work in many mediums and have your hands in a lot of things. You have a clothing label, the Futura Laboratories.
Yeah, we didn't cover that,
Okay.
Dean. But no, I pulled back on that now.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yes, I had for many years.
Yeah, it's
I had a clothing company.
creative in many different ways, man of all talents.
Few things. And I ride Fixie also. Just FYI.
What's next after this? What do you do after this tour? What happens next for Futura?
Like I said, there's nothing really there, written for the schedule, the calendar. There's no calendar, although I always am envious of those kind of production calendars where there's like a lot of activity and numbers and shit's written on a lot of lines. It looks like people are really busy. But no, I don't have it like that. I mean, I can foresee, next few things. I mean, it's hard to explain to people because I go against tradition a lot. Like, most people are hustling right now, just trying to stay above water.
Sure.
And I'm really comfortable, in my little railroad apartment in Brooklyn. I pay like $9.80 a month. It's reasonable, and that's it for me.
Right.
It's like there's nothing to acquire, and I've already got enough to support, a fictitious, I don't know what, like a 10-year plan if I was to just shut everything down.
Yep.
But I won't. I'll keep working and painting, and something will happen, and hopefully I'll meet some more interesting people along the way, and we'll exchange who we are and what we do and the things we enjoy, and we'll be creative together.
Right. I mean,
that's what this is all about, I think, as well. It's like they're super creative. I think I am. They've put us on a product, and maybe the consumers are feeling it.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, taking your art and working with some of these great companies like this, I think that's the way forward. In my own mind, I don't know how other people feel about it, but I don't know if it's reinventing yourself to work with these people, is it? It's
not, because the templates to cross over. I mean, remember seeing Steven Sprouse on like Louis Vuitton bags back in the 80s, right? This is early, kind of like random scribbling, tags.
Yeah.
I mean, not Jose Parla, not on a level of actual style, but just handwriting, random, fluorescent on bags. So, I mean, that's one kind of almost grotesque example. But I mean, even Warhol explained, Herring had a pop shop. He was already putting his name on, everything that you figured you could sell. So,
Sure.
but working with Burton, working with Beats by Dre, working with Nike, working with certain companies that can offer an exposure for me, which extends from when I was a kid writing my name on a wall, which had a very limited audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Think of the audience of this product, for
Sure.
example. It's
Yeah,
quite
it's worldwide.
vast, right?
Yeah.
And so the getting up, the basic, like, hey, this is me. And fortunately, my tag's on the box,
Yeah.
a little thing about me. Okay, it's, to look at it personally, it's embarrassing, but there's some info there,
Yeah.
for people to
Yeah.
get, and,
You've come a long way. It's amazing what you've accomplished. I'm wondering if there's
it's not embarrassing. It's not.
I'm wondering if you could tell a story about, okay, the early days you're painting in the subway systems and things. Is there something
Well, like
where
being chased, or?
being chased by authorities or anything that happened? Or were you one of the lucky ones that didn't?
I mean, I got chased. I never got caught.
Never got caught.
Yeah, never
That's
got
amazing.
caught.
Yeah, good for you.
I mean, it wasn't like I was slick or anything. It's just that it's a big city, and we're in there at Sunday morning at like 3 a.m. The chances of getting caught are quite remote.
Yep.
And at that time, it wasn't like today where you have fencing and security systems and cameras. It was open access. And it was a period in which a system could be taken over by a majority. It's just like the Warriors, mentality. That whole idea,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
we can do it. If we unify.
Yeah,
And
great comparison.
and so there was a kind of a unification, no pun intended, to Germany, obviously. But we were like united at that time, and ultimately, we're 1,000, 10,000 individuals under that umbrella.
No, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the audience to a few questions.
This gentleman here, yes, sir.
Hi. I'm of the thesis that artists are somehow always at the frontier of using technology throughout the times. And I was just wondering if you see this in your own career going forward and doing stuff now, how you're using technology, and whether that's a part of your thinking. And
Sure. I mean, as far as technology, when I started writing graffiti, it was 1970. I was 15 years old. 4 years later, well, 3 years later, I'm going to give you a little small story. 3 years later, I was involved in an accident with a friend of mine. We were painting a train, September 1973. So, I was in the movement a couple of years. I was kind of a nobody, but, I had good style. A fire broke out. Very unfortunate, my friend was badly burned. That accident, forced me to join the military. So, 1974, I joined the United States military. 6 months later, I was on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, working on the flight deck with jet planes. So, I was into technology like really early. And when I came out of the military, I was starving for the things I knew were there for military application, but were going to take years to develop into civilian society. So personally, yeah, I'm a tech head. And to be in Apple and to know I probably spent, I could say, honestly, I mean, they could even check my account, easily 20K on their product. And every first gen thing they made, from iPod to pad to phone and et cetera. So, and obviously all their computing systems, and monitors and all of that. So, yeah, I'm about it. I think today everyone is about technology, but I don't think tech is really part of the artist career. It's kind of been part of mine. But when I paint, I use spray cans, so there's no tech involved. So I'm a tech addict, and like I say, my addiction dates back to when I was a child, and I saw some really cool stuff that we still haven't seen yet. And they just develop newer stuff that civilian people will probably never get their hands on. I mean, so I wish there was probably jetpacks like I thought there would be, but there aren't. I mean, there's iPhone 5s, so they're pretty cool also.
So, I mean, I was thinking more in terms of the medium, like, I don't know, 3D printing or...
I don't know. I mean, all those options are there. I guess people will use technology creatively, but for people who paint with brushes and things of that nature, I mean, I don't see how they're going to, change what they're doing rather than help them exchange the imagery of those creations vis-a-vis whatever, whatever they're plugged into. But no, I wouldn't invest, I mean, in those type of, I mean, yeah, my friends have laser etchers. They're awesome. You give them a skateboard, they can burn your logo and do a picture of, Marilyn Monroe on it. But I don't know. I mean, those things are also gimmicky. So you have to be careful.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Flo.
Hey, Flo, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
How
Hi.
are you, sir?
Nice to have you back in Berlin.
Thank you.
I was
Alles klar.
Yeah, alles klar. Yes,
Alles
you're right. I wonder, you still got time just to paint for yourself, or you're obviously in so many processes with media dates and stuff like this that you don't even have time for painting just for fun or for your kids? How is it? I mean,
No.
back in the days,
Well,
I
back
think
in
you
the
still
days,
have more time. You're just writing and printing and stuff like this, but now you're in Berlin, you're in Japan, whatever.
Sure.
You still got time?
yeah, I do. I mean, this year's been a little crazy with a couple of projects I've been on, but, even when I'm back home, I have my railroad apartment I mentioned, and my 980 apartment, and I have actually an $1,100 studio, another similar-ish size spot that I paint in and can, make the place a mess. And I mean, the thing about any creative space is, and I think what's important is obviously people who want to do things should have one, which can enable you to do what you like, obviously, and then leave things as they are and, come back, whether it be an hour, a week, in my case, sometimes 5 weeks later, and shit's exactly where it was. So studio space is always going to be key, if anything, for me to escape from all of this kind of stuff as well, because I need to balance what's really real and, the kind of things I've committed to, which are also real, but, it's not like you're saying, like when you're just in there painting out of joy of, hey, what will happen here?
What is in your heart, at least, or what is with your friends, stuff like this? So you're not only painting for money or for fame, you're just painting for yourself and from the bottom of your heart. That's it, oh?
Yes and no. Sometimes, paintings are for, there's whether it's an exhibition. I mean, obviously, exhibitions are different, but in the periods between exhibitions and not having a show, if you will, yeah, you should be working just to create work, not because you have a show and you need paintings to put into that show. So, I mean, at the moment, I've been a little out of the studio, but I'm not out of it, I'm not out of it.
So one last question. You stay for one more day here, or you just have to leave tomorrow morning?
It's over.
It's over, okay.
It's over.
So we'll not join you in a club like back in the days, yeah?
It won't be like that. It will
Okay.
be a good Wiener Schnitzel and some beer this evening, and then
Good, okay.
Aus Wiedersehen.
I hope to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you, Flo.
So yeah, I love the fact that, just to add to what he was saying, that, and the feeling I get from you is that you paint because you're a true artist. You paint because you have something inside you need to get out. You're just a very creative person. So.
But there's a time when you get inspired. People are like, oh, what inspires you? And, it's very difficult to ask that. I mean, I think I don't get inspired, really. I mean, it's all there. It's like a formula. I just need motivation. The inspiration is there. I can inspire myself. I can look at my children and get inspired. I have to be motivated to go do something now. So, motivation young people today are lacking of. I'm still old enough. I think I can fabricate. I can just create fake motivation. You know, just tell myself, yo, just go do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I will do it. Just because I wouldn't want to tell myself to do something and I was like, couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's sort of a battle. But yeah, I mean, you can't always, it's not always there. And people who are, you know, I don't know. I mean, like I feel it and then I have to go there and work, you know. But if I'm not emotionally in the right place, I don't think the work's going to be representative. You know, it's all these things have to kind of be right. And when they are, then that's the moment when I feel it's a good time to work. And personally, as it goes, although I'm not a nightclub guy, I don't stay out late, I work quite late, i.e. like I like to paint after midnight.
Sure. Do you feel that's like the best creative time for your mind?
It's just that darker hour when, you know, everything's quite calm. And that's when like a nice sound is good to accompany you, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, sure.
Listening to your Beats by Dre headphones.
Right. And yeah,
Of course.
I use them as well, and they're really great quality.
They're awesome.
The sound's amazing. Is there someone certain that you listen to, or like at the moment, that really helps you be inspired?
I mean, Get Lucky, I think everybody's sick of it, right? I've overplayed that right now. You know, Kendrick. I mean, you know, I've been into the whole new rap game, I guess, because my kids, you know, and I mean, the older I am, the older I get, the younger I get, in a sense, in terms of, you know, I'm not willing to just let my heart grow the way the body is, if you will.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
and keep my mind kind of sharp. And, you know, I mean, you're asking, like, yo, do you want to go back and paint? And I'm thinking of, like, well, yeah, I do, but what's the next Instagram image? You know, like, how can I just keep being, you know, sort of using this platform, which is completely weird, but fascinating. You know, so,
sure.
I mean, paintings, unfortunately, are for, you know, unless I'm giving them away, I mean, they're expensive.
Sure.
So I can't share those with everyone, but I can share other things with many people. And
Right.
I'm willing to do that.
Great. We have another question over here, I believe.
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. Over here.
Welcome to Berlin and
Thank you.
auf Wiedersehen. If you're going tonight, it's a pity.
Tomorrow, but it's too soon, absolutely.
Okay. My name is Kemnos, and I think we met in Frankfurt in 1997 or 99. Maybe
Sounds
you
like a
remember,
jam.
yeah, the jam. For
What, back jumps?
Bomber Spring Jam. And,
Okay.
you were with Torch. Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah. Remember that one?
Yes, I do, actually. You said Frankfurt, right?
Yeah, it was Frankfurt.
Was that organized by Adrian?
No, it was organized by Bomber, Helge Steinmann.
Heavy Steinman,
Yeah,
okay.
and you were with Torch with the 360-degree records.
Yeah, they did a re-release of
Right.
of my rap
Of the
record.
Escapade.
Yeah, oh, wow, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I
It was
totally remember that,
It was
sure.
that time, okay? And I was the one copying your whole cars.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, you know,
And
I mean, you know, most people get, you know, I mean, I feel like, you know, if I inspired artists to develop their work, you know, I don't know, a la Futura or in the style, which is now quite popular. If you notice the
yeah, if
abstract.
you're coming up in the 80s as a writer, you were a big inspiration, so to say.
Oh well, yeah, man, I really appreciate that. I mean, you know, I get that a lot from artists, and I'm very grateful because when I first started painting in the 80s, my first spray paintings on canvas, even my brake car on the subway, people were like, no, I'm not feeling that. And they were like, oh, you know what? This looks like Malevich. This looks like Kandinsky. This looks like Watteau. And naming all these artists, quite frankly, I had no education, so I didn't know who you're talking about. And I felt it's wrong for people to label me as a copycat of an artist whose work, quite frankly, I didn't know. And today, 30 years later, there's quite a whole army of kids probably are out there and very derivative of my work. And it's amazing that not knowing where I was going as an artist at that time, when people were referencing me to those guys, today, young artists are being kind of referenced to me. And I'm totally cool with it because I think it means that what I did perhaps has some value beyond the commercial successes. It's like people got something out of it and wanted to do something with it. And that's a positive influence.
Yeah, I think it's very positive.
You know, and I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for
It's
that.
flattering.
Yeah, totally flattering. And, you know, some of it's quite good, actually. So I can't, you know, I'm not angry.
So there's only a second thing that I want to say.
Yes.
As I remained as a graffiti writer or style writer, I am landed on a planet that calls Field Station Berlin.
Okay.
And for the next time you come in,
Yep.
you got to come there because get some information about this place, Teufelsberg Field Station.
Field Station Berlin,
Might be interesting for you, might be interesting for your kids, everything.
Well, thank you.
I'm there.
Field Station, I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Hey, Lenny. So you've been an internet pioneer, basically. I think you had probably one of the busiest artist site like 10, 15 years ago. Now everything is mobile, Instagram, as you said. Would you be interested, or are you already working on something in this segment? Mobile, user interfaces, stuff like that?
Excellent question, Marley. Marley's one of my old compatriots. He posted a photo recently when I was here. I think it was like 92 Bicycle Messenger Championships, when I actually, at that event, met James Lavelle. And James Lavelle winds up being very important in my career with MOAX and all the affiliation. But what you're saying is awesome because, yeah, in '96 when I first got online, I wrote a website. It was quite deep. I taught myself HTML. You know, somebody kind of showed me how to copy and paste, and I picked up on it really quickly, and I really was very proud of that site. What I like to do now is create that site as an app, as a free app. So it's kind of like for all the new kids on the block who didn't have that experience, and subsequently I actually took it offline. I still have it archived, but, you know, it would be great to give that away, you know.
We have a project here.
Do we have a project?
Yeah, we do.
Well, that's amazing, because I really would love to do that. And I think, you know, we could work out a way to do it for free and then have, like, you know, side show stuff that you could maybe charge people for, whether it's photos, some sort of a wallpaper, you know, something to supplement someone's cost to create this, yet I wouldn't really want anything out of it, because the whole thing is the shit is free. And that's what free is. Free should be free. And it's not going to be with me trying to make a profit, because the whole joy of doing that was it was free. It cost me nothing to create, just my time. And the feedback I got from the world, and ultimately years later, people recognizing like, yo, you created a dope site, like before there were dope sites. So knowing that is still possible, you know, and this has got nothing to do with street art or painting or anything, and it's another little, you know, it's a little feather in the quilt, but yeah, I would love to do that, and I would love to explore that, Marley.
I think it's important to, you know, transport the visual language you have created at that time and, you know, over the past decades. And it's not about profit or money at that point.
No, it would be a bit of a historical thing as well. You know, and so if it has / educational value, then boom, you're doing a service, you know, and public services, for me, it's always good, you know, not only when you get busted and you have to do it, but when you want to do it.
Cool, thanks.
No, I
Lenny.
had to clean some parks in New York, or I did get busted, but that was not related to the art world.
Different story.
Oh boy,
We won't open up that can of worms.
not for the podcast.
Over here?
Hey,
Hi.
hi there.
Welcome as well. And,
Thank you.
A rather specific question towards your painting, because
You're a painter.
I am a painter.
There you go.
And I only got to know, I must confess, your work sort of 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
but had a proper look at most of what I could get from the internet. And
Which is flawed, by the way.
Well, you haven't got an own website in that sense yet, so...
No, this is true.
You should probably create one, because I think there is a lot about your work on canvas, which I was quite surprised and happy to see, because there is a mixture of rather arbitrary elements and a strong composition. And looking at it, I was wondering whether that composition is part of your work and creation, or sort of also maybe a motivation for you, or whether that is simply happening as well as you go along, and what is important to you with that or with that combination?
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, composition, in a word, it's really has a lot to do with it, because, the limitations of the medium, whatever they may be, the size specifically, it's frontiers, it's borders, it's, and my objective was to paint beyond those borders. So a lot of my work tends to go off canvas, off camera. And that's good, because to me it's not confined. And in addition, it translates to me a sense of movement and space. And so the organization of all these sort of things, I guess, visually, is the composition that you speak of. But for me, it's quite important, because it's when I know when to say when, and when I feel, okay, this specific work is done. But painting is very personal, and it is the kind of thing, like I said before, it doesn't always work. I've had some moments where I was working, and just none of it really was good, and none of it came out right and stuff. And I have no problem with just trashing it, and or buffing it, and just trying to start over again. But yeah, I mean, painting, it's my love. It's like the basis, I guess, beyond my hand, beyond the calligraphy, calligraphic aspect of who I am as an artist. Painting is also very close. But once again, I can take pictures. I can design web pages. I could play baseball. I could ride a bike. I can do things. So I don't want to ever just do one thing and just get wrapped up in it, because you need perspective on, different things to return and maybe be inspired again, or quite the opposite, realize, no, this is not cool, and try something new.
Do me a favor, keep on painting.
Thank you. You prefer my paintings? Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
I've really enjoyed listening to you, and I kind of have a personal question, because I'm also a mother.
Yeah.
How did your parents, did they even know what you were up to back then when you were 15? And did they have any clue what you were doing? Because back then it was pretty scandalous, I would say.
No, of course. I mean, and God bless my parents. They died many years ago, and I really love them. But no, I mean, when that fire happened that I mentioned, that I said, I was painting, and in '73 there was a fire with my friend. That night, when I took my friend from the fire to the hospital, after I brought my friend to the hospital, I ran to my own home, and I told my mother what happened. And that was the first time she found out about my life. I was so terrified of my mother. Not my dad. My mom wore the pants in my family. And she had me under manners, whatever you want to say. And, I was a mischievous kid, but I was a really good student.
Okay.
So I did everything the mom asked me to do. And I gave her no reason to suspect anything. It's a bit of a, premeditated bad guy, actually, right? Because I know what's wrong and what's right, and I'm still doing wrong. But I loved that woman. And, strangely enough, when I came home, tattered and whatever from the fire, scarred. Well, not actually. I've been so lucky through my life. I didn't even get, like a spark on me during that incident. And when I came home dirty that night, my mom said to me after I told her, she's like, "Baby, I knew. I knew." So that's how cool Mom Dukes was. She was cool about it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure.
So unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but
Awesome.
Yeah, it's over. Schnitzel and beer time.
Totally.
But let's all thank Futura for being here.
If I can't be there for people who are fun and want to have fun like me, I want to have fun also. Who am I? Thank you.
Thank you.